class. Today I am going to be talking about my research proposal paper that looks at the barriers for seeking therapy in OCD patients who are from a Muslim background versus those who are non-Muslim. After looking at the research and identifying there was a gap in research of barriers of people seeking treatment for OCD symptoms, there's a prior study that sees the barriers and the encouragers for those seeking therapy for OCD symptoms, but it was only done on one demographic. And so the researchers recognized that there was a need for some more diverse populations to have this test done on to see if the barriers and the enablers would be different. So after looking at that, I realized that with my background in working with refugees and seeing people from all over the world and knowing that culture and religion play a big role in how people see mental illness, I decided to make a study on what the barriers of those seeking care with OCD are between Muslim patients and non-Muslim patients. So that is my research proposal. There is some other literature that backs up the idea that there are some very specific barriers to therapy for those who practice Islam, whether that's gender equality or whether that's stigma from society. And in general, OCD patients have a lot of different barriers that have been identified in other studies before too. But comparing the two, I think, is important for us to see in the counseling field that religion and culture do play a role in the way people hinder themselves or feel like they can't seek therapy. So my hypothesis is that Muslim participants will have stronger barriers that prevent them from seeking care. Thus, there will be a longer period of time between when symptoms first occur and when patients begin therapy. Between the two groups, some of the deterrents will most likely be the same, but there will be stronger ties to faith and culture in the Muslim community that hinder finding care in a larger capacity. My null hypothesis is that there's no difference between the two populations and the years that it takes for them to seek care. So for finding my participants with my population and sampling, I would do a stratified sampling where we take 5 patients from a random sample from 20 different clinics, and we would need half of the patients to be Muslim, half of them to be non-Muslim. So we would identify maybe some clinics that work specifically with refugees or international communities, and then randomly select folks from there. We would do our studies within those clinics and work with them there. For our instrumentation, we would use the Clark-Beck Obsessive Compulsive Inventory to first identify that people actually are suffering from OCD symptoms. And then the second instrument would be a qualitative, semi-structured, so the Clark-Beck Obsessive Compulsive Inventory is a self-report test design. And then the second instrument is a semi-structured interview that was created by an author of a previous study. And this is called Seeking Treatment for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, is this interview process. And it measures the amount of years that it takes for a client to seek care from when they start their OCD symptoms to when they actually get therapy. And then it also measures the barriers and identifies the barriers that it takes, and it finds common themes of barriers between all the patients. So for this test, for this study, I would compare the two groups, and the first I would do a independent sample t-test to compare the mean number of years that it takes for a patient to seek care from when they start their symptoms to when they get care. And so I would compare the two with that type of test with some interval data. And then I would use a grounded theory test design or study to then identify the common themes that are found in the interview process of what the actual barriers are. And so that is the proposal for my study, and I'm looking forward to hearing your replies.